G'day guys and welcome back to the Freo Faithful podcast, episode number 17. Brett Bewley comes to mind. Will Brodie comes to mind. One of the better Docker numbers to ever be worn. Hayden Crozier, was he 17?
I feel like he was. I was actually thinking about this morning, and I think Hayden Crozier came to mind, but I could be wrong.
Kicking off the podcast with some Hayden Crozier chat. That's when you know you are at the home of Freo Dockers content here on Freo Faithful. Noah, thanks for joining me. You were at the game on Saturday night away at Optus to North Melbourne. First and foremost, what were the conditions like? Because it just looked blustery, Bustleton-esque. North brought it over, played two terrible weathered games. What was it like?
It was slobbery. It was real slobbery.
Wow.
There was 30k there. It was raining. The deck was a bit cooked. I don't even want to imagine how cooked it was for the West Coast game the day after. It wasn't a great spectacle, to be honest, but 4 points are 4 points, as we've heard about 50 times throughout the past 3 days after the game. Look, I thought it was... I've sort of slept on it a bit. I think all Freo fans sort of had the same initial reaction after the game. We were a bit just flat. Didn't know what we were celebrating for. Like, I remember rising out of my chair and screaming when Luke Jackson kicked that goal. I saw you did the same on True Footy. And then when the final siren went, I celebrated. Then I slumped back into my chair and was wondering why I was celebrating. Because it certainly wasn't one of the most fulfilling wins this football club's ever had. But a win's a win, and 4 premiership points is better than honourable 0. So, yeah, look, we take the win and we move on to the Bombers.
I'm glad we got the 4 points is 4 points and a win is a win out the way, because it's probably the easiest thing to say after a game like that. All I felt after the final siren was relief to get the win. No one wants to lose the sides at that end of the ladder. Now, form against bottom sides this year has been terrible. If I get up the ladder now, we beat West Coast, Richmond and North, but after that we lost to Melbourne, lost to the Saints, lost to the Swans. We've got Essendon this week, massive banana peel. We have to get revenge for that game last year. It's a big game coming up, and you look at this sort of block of fixtures that we have at Optus, and you go chalk them up. 4 points against Essendon, 4 points against St Kilda because we're better than them, but the realisation that I've had, and I think the football club sort of holds this perspective, is that, like, your next game is the biggest game of your life. Like, as corny as it is, they say they take it a week at a time. This next game, like, we're just focusing on that. But in the moment, you need to bank the 4 points. Like, it doesn't matter if you beat North or you beat the Crows or, you beat teams that we've lost to, like St Kilda. 4 points is 4 points. So, the next game is the biggest. I've got a gripe, Noah, before we get in. I've got a big gripe. You ready to hear it?
I'm ready. I'm prepared. Maybe I'm not.
Now, this is probably the most diabolical thing I've ever seen at an AFL game, and it happened in the North Melbourne Freo game on Saturday night. Now, the Fremantle Dockers Football Club has tried to adopt this Freo anthem, right? What song is it again? Viva La Vida?
I know where you're going with this.
Why was it played after a North Melbourne goal? If it's our anthem that the fan base it's never going to adopt, but why was it played after a North Melbourne goal?
Up.
That's meant to be our anthem, and I'm not happy about this. This is my anthem that I love as a Dockers fan. I love belting out.
It's uniquely Freo.
Uniquely Freo that. So why do we play it when the opposition team kicks a goal? Riddle me that one.
I can actually explain this. I nearly posted it on the Freo Faithful Instagram to prepare the fans before the game. But that is indeed Nick Larkey's goal song, as it was a North Melbourne home game.
Fuck off.
We were copying goal songs left, right and centre. There are a few bangers in there, I won't lie, but as soon as Nick Larkey was lining up for set shots, so I was preparing myself for what I was about to hear. Especially when he kicked that late one, it stung even more. Like, they've just come in our house and they're just rubbing our own theme song in our faces. Like, it was a little bit disrespectful, to be honest. But look, I haven't lost too much sleep over it. You clearly have.
Look, I'll tell you what, Noah. Nick Larkey, you can have the song. You can take it. We don't need it. It's yours. You've come to Optus. You've played our anthem. None of us like it. You can have it, mate. Well done, Nick Larkey. You won't get the 4 points, but you'll get Viva La Vida by Coldplay. Enough of that, because that was diabolical. Yeah, watching North play against West Coast the week before, they didn't show up, and I said I wanted the best North side, and it was probably the best performance that they've put out all year, other than that D's game, I thought. Cherry in the ruck battle was an interesting one, and we'll get to that. But yeah, he was just sort of getting it down to the likes of LDU and Sheasel, who had massive opening quarters, and their talent shone through. McKercher and Voss playing great games. They sort of connected better than I've seen them all season, North. How did you see the first half prior to that sort of burst of goals that we had in the back end of the second?
Yeah, first half was interesting. We obviously conceded the first couple, which wasn't ideal, but I thought we fought our way back into it nicely. I think the 10-minute patch that everyone's mind will cast to was that one in the second quarter where we were just piling on the goals in the torrential rain, and that's sort of what ended up separating us in the end. Look, we've said it multiple times, but it obviously wasn't our best performance, but just to grit and grind in those conditions against a team that clearly wanted it. Like, we weren't up against the North Melbourne that were folding over. We weren't up against the North Melbourne that were under the impression that their season's a write-off. Like, they still feel like they've got something to play for this season, and I thought they did bring their version of their A game on Saturday. So, yeah, I thought we dug in really well. I saw Will Schofield said in the past few days that was some big boy footy that the Dockers played on the weekend, and I'd agree. In the fact that last year, you know, the Essendon game in particular, some of our leaders in particular, Serong, Brayshaw, they didn't step up. They sort of folded and succumbed to the pressure, where I think on the weekend, it was a game where we very easily could have folded over, and a game where we very easily could have succumbed, but I thought those two just stuck at it all day, did the fundamentals and dragged us over the line. Josh Treacy probably falls into that category as well. So yeah, I think it was a game where we needed the leaders to step up, and I thought they did.
Yeah, JT, that's a good point. Didn't get on the scoreboard, but one-on-one versus Pink, he had his number all day. That reminded me of, you know, that gather-round game against Carlton last year where he went back with the flight and sort of, I got messages from Carlton fans saying he shat himself, you know, he heard footsteps behind and ducked under it, but back with the flight, if that ball went over the back, there was 3 North players out. So yeah, great moment there from JT. Brayshaw and Serong, the better players on ground. I'd probably give Vossi the 3 votes though, but yeah, I think it was a hard day to be clean with the ball, but Serong and Brayshaw were always the first one to put their head over it. We've seen how good Brayshaw is around the ground at intercepting as well. So those guys did the job that we know they can do. Thought Bolton was a little bit quiet. He had moments of brilliance, but didn't really grab a hold of the game. But yeah, that second quarter burst, I said on the live stream on True Footy, we need Corey Wagner. It just felt like we needed Corey Wagner in that moment. And then a couple minutes later, he's running off half back. He's kicking a goal. So yeah, he came out to play when we needed him. And it's just, we've spoken about, we have different weapons over the park that can hurt you now. And I never would have thought sort of a year ago that Corey Wagner was the sort of key master in that situation to get it done. We've spoken a lot about Wags, but yeah, what did you sort of make of the role that he played in the game overall?
Well, I think the Corey Wagner types are just so or so important, as such to say. You know, even Carl Warner, who sort of plays in a similar vein to him, he was our top intercept possession getter. He had 7 intercept possessions, and he may go unnoticed, but just those two play such an important sort of small role off halfback, and we've got so many absences back there, like. Obviously, Corey Wagner's a part of our best 22, but a guy like Carl Warner, I love him. The fan base loves him. But it's not a guarantee that he's in our best 22. Yet he still steps up week after week and plays his role fantastically. And I think it's a credit to the playing group over the past year, and not just the past year, but ever since JL sort of come to the club, we've sort of transformed from a team where every player just had one position, and it was plan A or plan nothing, where I feel like there's a clear plan B, and it goes pretty deep in the alphabet now. I think a lot of players can sort of play a variety of different roles, and they can switch in-game, and that can provide a different impact to the team at any given time. I saw Josh Treacy and Michael Frederick were speaking after the game about how they both went spare behind the ball late. In the game to sort of, just get an extra couple numbers behind the ball. And that used to be a coach-driven thing. They'd have the runner get out there and tell them to do it. Well, that was a player-driven thing on the weekend. It was Treacy taking the responsibility to go back down there. It was Frederick taking the responsibility to go spare. So that shows maturity as well. We've said that word a few times this pod already. And I feel like we're saying it every podcast at the moment, but we're just overcoming a lot of things in recent weeks that we haven't been able to in recent years. And I'm just slowly growing quietly more confident of this group's ability to perform week in, week out.
Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest win, but some positives to take out of it. I don't think we really need to unpack the game too much. I think Nathan Fyfe, the sub role again, 100% disposal efficiency, as you pointed out on the Freo Faithful Instagram, Noah. Go follow that if you haven't already for some more Freo Faithful content. But he's come on as sub 2 weeks in a row in wet conditions. Look, he still hunts the hard ball, still puts his chest over it. But what I love about Fyfe in the twilight of his career, he's always had it, but just how clean he is when he has the ball in his hands. There was a shot that Amos missed. I don't know who kicked it into Amos, but the ball comes from behind Fyfe. We're going forward from a centre bounce. And he's like flicked it over with one hand into his left and then hit a left-handed handball. Just like made it look so easy. Hayden Young's talked about how much of an influence Fyfe's had on his sort of one-touch ability. So, yeah, I'm keen to see Fyfe grow into the season. He's obviously building in fitness with 2 games under his belt now, albeit only a quarter and a quarter and a half. But it's good to see him back. You mentioned Freddie there, that chase down tackle. He didn't really have any influence attacking, I didn't think, for the day. But for him to come up with a big moment late, that was clutch. So
I want to sing the praises of a few players that I think will go unnoticed because maybe the stat sheet didn't really show their influence, but I watched the game live, obviously, and I've watched the replay back since. I thought Jai Amos, I think he's just sort of building as a really clean ground level player. Again, Josh Treacy, I thought, didn't hit the scoreboard, but made a great impact aerially. As you said, had Toby Pink's number all day. I think Amos at ground level is super clean. I think he gave the handball off to Jackson for that winner. And I think he's really crucial in tight spaces. Like, as much as we sing the praises of Murphy Reid and Shea Bolson and Sam Switkowski in those tight spaces in the forward line, I think Jai Amos is just important because he's that bigger body and he's sort of what the opposition isn't expecting. So, yeah, I thought I was really happy with sort of his game on the weekend, despite not kicking a goal, I don't believe. And another couple guys in the back line who I think have been really strong in the past couple of weeks. Luke Ryan, I think, is having a better season than last year. He was All-Australian last year. I think he's actually been better this year. He's not getting as many possessions, but I think he's playing a far better role for the team. I was speaking about earlier in the season how when we play our best footy, Luke Ryan's our catalyst from the back line, and he's making good decisions with the ball in hand. And not only do I think he stepped that part of his game up, but I think his defensive work and his positioning is really, really good.
100%. Luke Ryan's one-on-one defending has continued to improve. Well, not improve, but continued to stay at a really high level. And there was frustrating games earlier in the year, and you just saw him go to work, come back, and play his best footy. He's such a reliable, consistent player. I think he's played the most consecutive games for our club at the moment. I don't know about all time. I'm sure Mundy would probably hold that mantle, but just a super reliable player for us. You talked about Jai Amos there. Again, probably disappointing night in front of goal for him. He's slowly losing the claim of Dead-Eye Jai, I think. It's fair to say when you're missing goals from 20 metres out or 15 metres out. That needs to be put to bed because, we only won by a goal in the end. And if Finn O'Sullivan soccers that one off the ground, which, on the XG is probably maxed, it could have been a different outcome. But I've really liked how Jai's competed all year. That's something that Bruce spoke about on the post-game podcast, how he can just influence the game from pressure acts and competing at ground level. So Jai's added that to his game this year for sure. A guy that's in really good form, and I hope he can get up with the short turnaround, is Sam Switkowski. Right up there in the last couple of weeks in player ratings by Champion Data. Not only with his defensive pressure acts, but his score involvements as well. He'll never be an All-Australian player, Sam Switkowski. They'll never give it to him, but, internally, he's rated super highly. Sam Switkowski, what a man, Noah. What a man.
Yeah, we all love Switter, heart and soul. I don't think there's a single fan that dislikes him or disapproves of his efforts week in, week out. I don't think he will get up. I think they've already ruled him out of the game on Thursday, unfortunately. Luckily, we do have a bloke in the twos that can slot straight back in for him. Isaiah Dudley doesn't necessarily perform the same role that Switter does. I think he's invaluable. We don't really have a like-for-like for him. But, I hope it's just only a one-weeker because... from all reports, it didn't sound amazing. The club are holding out faith it will just be the Bombers game he misses. But, not sure how he's going to pull up in the long term.
Well, I didn't actually see him go off, did you?
No, I found out after the game.
That feels to me like a good sign. Like it could just be like a Warner one where it was a bit of tightness. JL said it was a bit of tightness. So at least he hasn't felt it go, I suppose. But I think putting Switter on ice for a week is probably the best for the long term. But he plays such an important role for us. And if he goes out of the side, it's going to be on Frederick, Dudley, probably being led by Shea Bolton to bring pressure in the front half. Maybe Bolton slips out of the midfield for a little less midfield time, and then Erasmus goes onto the ball and gets more time against Essendon, who have been absolutely pumped by Geelong last week. I don't see this as an easy game, though, especially after last year against Essendon. The way that Geelong are playing at the moment is ridiculous. Like Max Holmes, Bailey Smith, Ollie Dempsey, their high half forwards, Jeremy Cameron's in Coleman medal form. Their back six is always like an 100-point loss against Geelong. Or I don't think they actually lost by 100 points, but like most teams, when Geelong are in that form, are very hard to stop. So Essendon competed pretty well against Carlton the week before. They're going to be hungry for a win, but they're schmucks. We got to beat them on our home deck.
Well, the thing is, it's interesting because like North Melbourne held Brisbane to a draw, and Essendon took it right up to Brisbane at the Gabba. So, like, good teams can be held accountable by these sort of lower ranked sides.
Be challenged.
And I do think Essendon have hunger as well. Like, they've got another debutant they've named on Thursday, Vigo Vizentini, which means, as expected, Todd Goldstein will be managed. So hopefully we can have a field day in the middle of the ground. But yeah, they're just playing rookies and 18-year-olds for fun at the moment, the Bombers. It's sort of a free hit of a season. And I reckon they're actually probably in an okay place mentally because they're just having a go, seeing what kids will lead them towards the future. And it'll be another step forward for the club on Thursday night.
So Dante DiVincenzo plays for Port Adelaide, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Essendon. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, correct. Name? Vito Vizentini? I think so.
Vito DiVincenzo. Dante DiVincenzo's brother. I don't know what language that is, but I struggle with that for some reason. I need to go back and do some more.
Struggle with Italian, do you? It's a difficult language, isn't it?
Yep, I sure do. One more thing on the game, which I sort of mentioned we'd get into and forgot about it, was the ruck duel. Now, started off the game with Dogger first ruck. Darcy on the bench, I'd assume. And Cherry was just getting the better of him, just using his strength. Cherry's a player that has the leap, but at ground level, just so strong in the core. And he was sort of pushing Dogger around a bit, or at least getting to the best positions to give their mids the first use. In steps the fridge, Sean Darcy, the man that gets slaughtered by the fan base. And instantly, our midfield in this matchup looked better when Darcy was in the ruck. I think our clearance differential went positive when Darcy was in the ruck. Again, around the ground, not the strongest game from the big swaggy onion man, but the horses for courses saying, we saw the horses for courses here. We saw Darcy was probably a better matchup for Cherry than Jackson was. We're now 10-5 with Darcy and Dogger. Now that shows that game, case in point, that the ruck duo is it going to work on grand final day? I hope so, eventually. But there are games in the season where it comes in so handy. Because if that's another day and Sean Darcy's out, Cherry probably has the ruck ascendancy for 3.5 quarters at least. I'm not writing out that Dogger could have come back into form, but, Darcy's job on the day, his role was to beat the X-Man. One of the better ruckmen in the comp, and he did a good job. How did you see the ruck battle?
Well, I reckon we saw 3 different horses for all 3 courses. I reckon Entree, Luke Jackson started in there. didn't really fill me up. You know, sort of got a hold of by Cherry. Main
bruschetta.
course, the bruschetta, exactly, bit of salsa on top. Main, Sean Darcy came in, just a big fridge. He filled me up. It was a nice rump steak. And he got a hold of Cherry. Not got a hold, but I thought he competed really nicely.
Steak doesn't really fill me up.
Doesn't it?
Nah, not really.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's subjective. But, you know,
maybe like a roast dinner.
Roast dinner. Yeah, Yorkshire pudding. And then the third course, dessert. Luke Jackson with a nice sweet finish with the goal over Cherry late in the game to win. So I thought we played it absolutely perfectly. I think it was evident from early on that Sean Darcy was going to be the guy to match up well against Cherry. And it turned out to be that way. I don't think he necessarily dominated Cherry. He's a very good ruckman and very hard to get a hold of. But I thought Darcy competed really well. And he didn't... I think that's the closest to his best he's looked all year, to be honest. It was definitely his best game of the year. And you just mentioned, that he wasn't great around the ground. I actually disagree. I thought at the game it was quite evident how well he was moving. And I think he laid a couple tackles. He was actually taking some marks around the ground for once, which was a rarity. I was really, really happy with Sean Darcy's game. From the first bounce to the final siren. I don't think he dropped off at any stage, really. So, yeah, very, very happy with the fridge. That being said, it's a horses for courses thing, as we've mentioned a lot, as JL's mentioned a lot. And I don't think he plays on Thursday. Off a 5-day break, Goldie's going to be managed. It's a debutant ruck. I think would be very, very silly to go in with both of them. I think it will just be Jackson we'll see on Thursday. I think we'll see a bit of management for Sean Darcy. That's my expectation, at least. I thought Darcy played his role very well on Saturday.
Well, it was just the equalisation when North had the game on their terms in the first quarter. I think it was, they sort of just couldn't finish off their work. It was that last kick. They don't really have... I know they got Curtis and Larkey, but they don't really threaten you when they go inside 50, even if they do get it in there. And that was another thing. I think what really won us the game was how we set up behind the ball and just that sort of defensive profile that we had to keep them to a low score. It was far from our best day. I don't know what's happened to our clearance game from last year where we were so dominant. Like, it was a shock last year when we didn't win clearances. Maybe it is Fyfe not playing as much and Hayden Young not being in there. It's probably a fair difference. A 2-time Brownlow medalist and one of the best players in the comp, in my opinion, in Hayden Young. So that's probably fair. In that sort of first half, I think North Melbourne had more possession, had the ball in their front half more. And by the time we had that goal blitz at the end of the second quarter, I think that was a massive part of, a massive credit to Sean Darcy to get the game back on our terms and get first hands on the ball. So, good on you, Sean. If you miss out this week and Dogger plays against Dante Vizancini, he played his brother a couple of weeks ago in Port Adelaide and dominated, probably got 3 votes. So first game ruckman, feed him to Dogger and teach him a lesson. We should get the win, hopefully, on Thursday night. God, that's going to come around very, very quick. I'm actually going to be working. I can't believe it. I know.
You're joking.
I should be right to make it back for fan cams. But it's going to be one of those ones where I'm pouring pints and sort of looking at the TV at the same time. But I'll make it work. I'll make it work.
That's really professional, way. You're good to see your priorities straight.
Yes, I've got to make money, Noah. I'm an adult. Adults pay bills, mate.
Mate, Freo Faithful makes money. You should see the revenue we've been racking in.
No, it doesn't. But if you want to sponsor the channel, feel free. It would help me not quit my job, but reduce the hours at my job. And
it would only help you. He'll get 100% of the cut.
No, I wouldn't. Come on now.
Thanks, mate.
Have you got a piggy bank? Have you got a little...
piggy? Yeah, I dropped a couple 20 centers in before we started from doing the dishes. Nice. So that was good, yeah.
Yeah, sick. Good to hear you being a good boy at home, Noah. There's a couple of questions on the Freo Faithful Instagram about Nathan O'Driscoll coming back in for a bit of run. I want to see it. I don't know why he's in the twos. Why is he in the twos, Noah? What's going on?
Probably fitness is the only answer, to be honest.
You need a fitness guy in the team.
I was about to say the selectors can fitness. Can't keep that in. Oh, fuck. But yeah, I think Noddy will come back in. I think Jeremy Sharp, he's had a few games where he's actually had 3 touches and made more impact than he did on the weekend. I thought he had 15 touches, but it was more evident how bad he was. I thought his disposal was quite poor. It probably helped the ball was probably going down the line a little bit more, so he was able to get involved. But yeah, I think he's void of confidence and form at the moment, Jez. And I think this certainly is the week to bring in Noddy, especially for a bloke that runs as much as Sharp. Off a 5-day break, like he could probably do with a rest as well, and play for Peel on the Saturday. So yeah, I think that's probably a move that will be made. I think it's probably going to be a consensus amongst the fan base and the selection panel now.
I doubt he gets dropped, to be honest. I reckon he's played every game since he's played for us.
He has, yeah. No, I think he will.
I don't reckon he will.
Who comes out? Raz?
Why would Raz go out?
Well, who else will go out? Fyfe?
Well, I don't think there's going to be any real changes. It might be O'Driscoll in. Who's coming out? Switter out, and they just, I don't know, shuffle magnets around a forward. Bit. Yeah, something like that. I don't see them dropping Sharp. Yeah, I don't think that will happen. And then there was another question.
Sorry, I didn't mention Bailey Banfield, by the way. I was really happy about his game. Again, not sure how noticeable it was on TV, but he's really, really good at positioning for a backman that has not played there for a very long time. Like, he looks natural down there. Like, this is a forward that's played 100 games for our club that's never looked forward or natural on the forward line. And he's gone down back and he's looking like a real good asset for us. So just to have that versatility, it's sort of what's going to keep you on an AFL list. So yeah, shout out Banners.
Yeah, a bit of depth there. Another lever that JL can pull. Took an important contested mark late in the game, getting in the way of Nick Larkey. You're never going to be able to question Banner's effort or his courage. But I think he's probably best suited to the half-back flank, especially with some of the injuries that we have. So yeah, good on you, Banners, for evolving as a player. Now, this question from Ben Campbell. If we have a similar performance this weekend, will the result change? Basically saying, if we play that way against Essendon or St Kilda, will we lose?
Hard to say because it's arguable that both of those teams' sort of worst performances would be on par with North Melbourne's sort of worst performance, or would be on par with that North Melbourne performance on the weekend. So I think these two teams have the ability to play really bad football. It just depends on which side shows up, and we've got to be in the mindset that both of these teams are playing at a top 4 standard, especially after what happened last time against both of these teams. So yeah, we can't take either of them lightly, despite being at home.
If we play this way, as we did against North Melbourne, do we beat Essendon?
It's hard to say. It just depends which one shows up. I'm going to say no, we don't, because Essendon are they a better team? It's hard to say. They're probably on par at the moment. But I'll say no, just so hopefully the players are listening and they pull their finger out. But no, look, I think we very well could play like that again and win. But yeah, it's hard to say.
I just thought, as much as we've spoken about the positives of this game, far from our best midfield method. Yeah. We were outclassed in the middle of the park, I thought, and it was just like you said, the maturity and the hunger of the leaders like Brayshaw, Serong, Treacy, that got us over the line. Thought Brucey, Murphy had a great first half as well, but we can't show up like that again. Like the consistency that we had before the bye, the level that we were playing was much higher than we saw on the weekend. We're always shit off the bye, and it just felt like we had disengaged. And obviously you got to do it. Every team's going to have the bye, but it feels like we need to really use these next couple of weeks to build and rediscover our best footy before big games against Hawthorn, Collingwood, and Brisbane and the Dogs later in the year. We really got to discover that best form. So yeah, good opportunity to do it against Essendon.
I think our problem out of the middle of the park on the weekend was our third mid, because you can't deny how well Serong and Brayshaw played. But I think Johnson had 20 touches and I didn't really notice him. Raz had quite a poor game. And obviously Fyfe was the other one that rolled through there. Bolton, I think he did his best work front of centre. I don't think he had much impact from the middle. So yeah, that third mid's got to be sorted. And I think that's another answer that Nathan O'Driscoll could possibly, or another question that Nathan O'Driscoll could possibly answer. You know, we don't have to start it in there, but it's just a different dynamic to put through there with Caleb and Andy.
Yep, Noddy's just about, well, he is ready to play. Walters is sort of, Walters could come in for Swiddy, you know.
He could. I think Dudley will, though, just match fit. Walters didn't play Peel, so.
True.
O'Meara is another one that could come back in. So, yeah, we've got a selection squeeze at the moment.
Which is good. I think having O'Meara back in the side will be good for us. Took his time to sort of fit in the purple, but I think at the start of this season and the back end of last year, he was a really important player for us. So yeah, a couple of selection headaches, I suppose, or good problems to have with some players coming back in. Hayden Young must only be sort of a month off. I'd expect.
Look, to be honest, I'm pretty confident that when Hayden Young comes back in, he won't be in the midfield. I just don't think we're going to play him there. We've got too many other guys that can play a really good third midfield role through there. We're starting to pick more midfielders in our team at the moment.
He'd be the best one. He'd be the number one candidate.
He'll get minutes through there, but I honestly don't think that'll be his primary position. I think he's going to be played forward quite a bit. I think he's going to be chucked back. I think he's going to sort of be a Mr. Fix-It on steroids, because when you think Mr. Fix-It, you think James Aish, and Hayden Young is not a James Aish. He's a far better player. So, yeah, he's going to be an invaluable asset.
Mr. Fix-It on steroids. We take on Essendon Thursday night at Optus Stadium, a game we should win. I don't really know how much to unpack this game heading into it, other than it's a short turnaround. We've got to be professional. Luke Jackson come and dominate. And yeah, it's going to take a full team effort to get over the line against Essendon. UCAT will be at the game. I will most likely be running fan cams very late into the evening after a full day's work. So you're welcome. But yeah, what do you want to say ahead of this Essendon game?
Yeah, look, it's we've said ahead of the North game we want a statement. We ended up with just the 4 points of the 4 point sort of win. I want a statement here. I'm going to keep asking for it. We're playing teams where we really should be pumping them. The Bombers have just come off a 95-point loss, so they will be hungry. We can't take them lightly. But also coming off a 95-point loss probably means they're not a very good footy team. So let's make the most of that. They've got a lot of young guys. Like I reckon they'd have close to 10 guys under 20. Like they are so young. So yeah, look, they've all got talent. They'll all have hunger, but we've just got sort of the experience on them. We've got the skill on them. We've got the talent. We've got the team. We're just better than Essendon. And I want to rock up. I'm not sure what the conditions are like. I believe it'll be another wet one. It's like a fourth straight wet game. But we are sort of specialists now. So I'm not too worried. But yeah, it's a game where I do want to put a number on the Bombers. And hopefully you shake off the primetime woes, because we can't play primetime, can we? The Crows game's the only one we've actually overcome in a national broadcast slot this season. I'm sure the rest of the footy world won't be pleased to look at their fixture and see Fremantle versus Essendon as the standalone Thursday night game, but that's okay.
We'll take it. Currently, on Google Weather, Thursday is just cloudy.
Oh, beautiful.
Between two wet days, though. You said Essendon are so young, but Freo still hold the mantle for the youngest team in the competition, which is incredible to think. But like you said, we got more high-end talent across the park in that young talent. Guys like Murphy Reid, particularly, come to mind, Heath Chapman, etc. So yeah, I think we wrap it up there, Noah. Bit of a shorter one today, but yeah, we're 4 wins on the bounce. Could very well be. Is it 4 or 5?
Yeah, 4 on the bounce, looking for 5. Just quickly before we wrap it up, it's raining Thursday night in Burswood, unfortunately. I don't think it'll be a lot.
Damn.
And also Wednesday night is State of Origin at Optus. So the deck is going to be so cooked, it's not even funny. So yeah.
Whose idea was that then? Probably the same bloke that played Viva La Vida after Nick Larkey kicked a goal.
That was Nick Larkey's decision, to be fair.
Well, I don't know whose decision it was to play the State of Origin on a winter's night in Perth the day before the footy. I'm fuming.
The real footy.
Yeah. I actually watched rugby on KO yesterday. Wakefield versus Leicester, rugby union in England. It was a great game.
Yeah, I tell you what, you take the piss out of me for watching Sheffield United versus Bromley at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, and you've come here watching Leicestershire in the English Rugby Super League. I want no more chirp from you. Like, that is horrendous.
I'm not getting up at 3 a.m. to watch it. I was just like, I want some live sport because all I watch is sport, pretty much. just wired that way.
Just make it clear, I'm not waking up at 3 a.m. to watch Bromley play Sheffield United, but you get me point. Like,
you kind of do though.
I don't. I get up at 3 a.m. to watch my team.
What's the most road game you've ever got up for?
I've ever got up for? I reckon I got up for Burnley versus Leicester once.
Case in point.
That was before... it was before school, though. Like, I reckon that's okay. It was just an early start. Like, rise and shine.
Yeah, righto. Anyway, half the viewers have clicked off. We'll see you in the next episode of the Freo Faithful podcast. We'll have the preview and the teams very, very soon in the coming days, and hopefully an Oppo view as well if we have time. Can't Freo, Thursday night. Let's get the job done, get the 4 points, and move on. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like on the video if you're on YouTube. Hit 5 stars if you're on Spotify to help support the podcast, and we will see you in the next one.
Can the Dockers.